All right, today on the plot. Hello, everyone. I'm so excited. So, we've been having these great conversations about karma, and I really am excited and looking forward to digging into like the remedies of it based off of last week's conversation about what karma is. And so I think some of you have some pretty strong opinions about it and some experiences and some knowledge to share with everybody. And so to get us started, um, Emma, would you talk about like yeah, no putting you on the
Me?
spot or anything. Um, but if you could go into like, because I personally believe like your practice and the hypnotherapy and how the brain works and all of those things is a huge piece to a remedy of karma and releasing karma.
Hmm. What's interesting, I love that I'm getting off the bat because I feel in terms of karma, my knowledge isn't as there as maybe Coco Collie and you. And what I've learned in my practice, my hypnotherapy practice, is kind of what we talked about last week, where when you start to change your beliefs and your thought patterns and your reactions and you heal these wounds, you don't realize that that's actually also you healing your karma. So it's interesting to talk about remedies this week because even from last week's conversation, I realized I'm like, oh, I'm helping people with their karma. And I didn't fully realize I was helping people with their karma because it, like in my practice, at least, it's a regression hypnotherapy. And so we're going back and understanding the birth, the root, the why of your belief systems. We talked a little bit last week as well about past lives. That's come up a little bit in my practice. I'd say maybe only 5 or 6 clients we've done that. And whether you're doing past life or this current life, we're getting to the root of something, right? We're getting to your wounds. We're getting to why you have the reactive behavior that you have. And that's so much I feel a part of karma. It's like when you start to change your reactive behavior, when you start to change your thought patterns and beliefs, that's when your karma starts to change. So, I mean, I love, like, I still talk about hypnosis and people get freaked out or scared of it, but it's so fascinating to me. We're going back and understanding how your brain has started operating in this way, and that we can rewire your brain. It, it's so, like, I'm such a geek about it. It's neuroscience, and people are like, I'm scared. You're going to control my mind. You're going to control my brain. I'm like, no, you're literally changing your, like, neuroplasticity, your neural pathways, your thought patterns, your beliefs that inherently you're like, oh my God, my karma's starting to change. So remedy wise, I feel lucky that I kind of discovered it and didn't even fully realize I was discovering all these karma
Right,
remedies.
right. Well, and two, I think it's like such a good point, and it's the brain, right? And really,
Hmm.
in order to remedy that karma, you have to identify the challenge you're having. You have to
Yeah.
identify like what is that so that you can unpack it, right? It's like going through something blindly and going, okay, this is my feeling, this is my body's response, this is my
Hmm.
experience. What is the core piece in all of this of how to release that? And with hypnotherapy, you can find that and
Yeah.
also recalibrate those patterns. And
Exactly.
that's a lot of like therapy, hypnotherapy, like there's so many different ways of doing that. And
Hmm.
to your point, myself and Coco Collie refer to this as karma, and we've got planets that come involved, and we've got like rituals we do, and we burn shit. So, Coco Collie, do you want to do? I'm only saying this because I was doing it this morning. I was like, okay, I got to get up before the sun rises, and I got to get all this done. And I know you're the
Yeah.
same way, especially with
Yeah,
what we just had happen, because in the last 12 hours has been a very karmic event where you can burn karma. So,
such a
what do
karmic
you
time.
got?
Mm.
It's funny. Leading up to this call, I was thinking, okay, what am I going to introduce? And I decided what I really want to share with everyone is like a universal aspect to burning karma. And that is, take care of others. Like if you want to
Mm.
purify or burn up or eradicate a karma that you're experiencing, is go help someone else overcome that karma. So if you have money challenges,
Mm.
help someone else make money. If you have challenges with food, feed someone, nourishing, healthy, delicious food. If you have relationship challenges where people are always out to get you, or trying to get one over on you or whatever, show up fully, clearly, authentically for someone else, even in the face of them beating up on you, right? Keep showing up for them in that positive, pure way where you're willing to let your heart be vulnerable to them. And like, that's burning, these acts are burning your karma. If there's children that you can feed, if there's elderly that you can feed, if there's animals that you can take care of, if there's a garden you can tend, if you're in a meeting and there's that aggressive person who is like dominating everything, and normally like that, you just want to punch him in the face. I have had such an experience many times in my life. I'm just full
Right.
disclosure.
From
Um,
experience. She's
but
like, oh,
I really want to punch you. Instead,
I'm glad we're virtual right now.
in your mind, make it your practice in your mind to say, this person is amazing and I'm thankful for this person in my life, and I'm thankful they're taking the lead, they're the front person in this meeting. And like, you don't have to ever say anything verbally to that other person, but just in your own mind, practice shifting your thoughts from one of antagonism to one of support, right? In order, just think, I'm purifying the heck out of my karma right now by supporting this person instead of positioning them as an adversary in my own mind. So I'm hoping that these are like just spewed out a bunch of different examples. But if you look at any difficulty you have and you flip it and you think, how can I support another person in overcoming this or achieving this aim? I want to win the lottery. Well, buy lottery tickets for other people. I know that's a scary one, because who would not be jealous if the other person won and you didn't? But that's how it works.
Yeah. I love those. Love those.
Well,
I
what
think too,
about
you,
for the overgiver, oversharer, somebody that it comes easily that they're taking care of all these other people and serving other people and they are bypassing themselves. So, except for when like you're not full or you're not like food on the table is difficult. The scarcity is in your own pocket. So, like, what can I do for me to fill me? Like, how does karma play out in that?
well,
That
go ahead.
Go ahead, Jess. Oh,
To me, it's all about the mindset, right? Our thoughts are energy. Everything is energy. You go all the way back down to the bottom of string theory and how it vibrates up. So if you're in a mindset of, like a couple times now, we've all talked about my health. If I owned that mindset that I was told when I was a little kid of like, you're gonna die, like you got a couple years left, I would die. But instead I was like, no, I'm not. you know, like even now when they're like, "Oh my gosh, this is major," I'm like, "I'm living till 108. Sorry." Um,
words.
so yeah, most auspicious number. I'm here for it. Um, so, but the reality is like when you're going through this, it is your mindset, the lack mindset, right? And then we get into manifestation, we get into the neuroplasticity and the programming and the patterns, and but when you have nothing, and I'll give you an example. As you guys know, I have practiced like almost every religious belief structure there is out there. And for a while, I was going to a Protestant church with my brother, and we were very young. We had nothing. Like and so here's a perfect example of what Coco Collie is referring to. I had just gotten paid, and we were living on our own. Me and my brother had our apartment, and we were learning how to adult. We weren't doing it well. But we were still showing up for life. And so we get this call, "Oh, come to this service." And so we were like, "Okay, we'll come to this service." So we go, and I have, between the two of us, I have our last $20, and we just got paid. And they do the offering and they pass the plate around. And I remember being overcome, like feeling the energy of that sermon and being like, we have to do this. And I looked over at my brother and he was like, and I was
Mm.
like, okay. So I take out our last $20 and I put it in the plate. And I was just like, oh, okay, I don't know how we're gonna eat, how we're gonna have gas, how are we gonna, how are we going to get by? Because we're like 18.
Mm.
We don't, and God
Very
forbid we call our
tender.
parents.
Oh,
When we got home, he said, "Oh, you forgot to go through the mail." And I was like, "I don't want to. There's going to be so many bills. And I can't deal with bills today." And he was like, "You should still go through them and make sure, like, we should figure it out. Maybe we call dad, like, let's do that. Let's adult." So I open it up and there was a check for hundreds of dollars in there for a refund. And I was like, "Oh my gosh." But it was because I came from that energy of the
mhm.
giving, not
Mhm.
from the energy of lacking. And so by the time that money went into that plate, I was already thinking, like, please let this help others. Please let this give, because it was specifically for this food thing. And so I was like, let's give it to them. We'll figure it out. We will live on top ramen, and kidney stones are all, we'll figure it out later. But it was like that was the thought and the way I was giving it. So that's a perfect example of how that
Mm.
works. Is it has to do with what Emma and Coco Collie are saying, of like that energy, that
Mhm.
Mhm.
thought was the energy, and I had to cancel it really quick from lacking to giving.
And
Mhm.
if I
Yeah.
could just add to that really quickly, your mindset is your karma. So, oh,
Mhm.
I'm taking care of everyone else and no one's taking care of me. That is a karmic pattern that we want to eradicate.
Or
So,
I'm not taking care of me. Like there's not enough of me
Yeah.
and I'm not taking care of me.
that is, yes, I mean, it is a different, right, thought pattern, but
Mhm.
still a karmic thought pattern, right?
Mhm.
Well, and I think too,
So,
what these,
it,
and maybe you can add to this with your explanation, Coco Collie. I think also Wendy's talking about those boundaries of someone who is always giving, expecting,
Mhm.
or maybe thinking, like you're saying.
well,
Mhm.
are you expecting? I feel like this is its own call, right? Because when we overgive, like we need to look at our motivation, we need to look at our
Mhm.
habits, we need to look at our environment, we need to look at our relationships. There's like so many different things involved in that. So I'm not going to unpack all of that in this, but I do want to say that whatever thought pattern we're having about that is our karma. The thinking is the karma. So if we're having a
Mm.
thought of lack, like Jessica's talking about, if we're having a thought of jealousy, of envy, of fear, of whatever, the idea is, can you flip this and say, this is my service? Instead of having a
Mm.
negative response to that karma, think, this is my service. And as I perform this service, I'm burning up my karma. Like it's clearing. So when we think about having a positive mindset, like who doesn't want to punch someone in the face when they say think positive, right?
So
But
violent today.
I know, but for me, look, this is reflective of my own journey in learning to
Yeah.
flip these things around, right? Because I've been angry and I've been frustrated and I've been scared and I've been hopeless and all of those things. And in those moments, the only energy I had was that anger and frustration, right? So
Mm.
then like fighting my way through to, okay, this person is like stumping on me, like they have their foot on my neck. How could I possibly think positive about that? How could I, I remember one time my mom was like going on for like nearly a year until Christmas about how she did not have a coat. Okay. And I was in my 20s. I was, living paycheck to paycheck, like barely. And I remember saving like a few pennies, like from every paycheck, thinking I'm going to get my mom a coat. And then Lane Bryant had a sale and I went and I was able to get her a winter coat for like $25. And you guys, we've all been in this moment where like the $20, that $25 was everything. I gave it to my mom for Christmas. And then she was like, oh my gosh, this is so beautiful. And she went to her closet. She put the coat that I just gave her in the closet and took another winter coat out and was like, now I can wear this one.
Ooh.
You
Isn't
can
that funny?
imagine all the feels I had for years about this
Yeah.
situation, right? I had such
Yeah.
a hard time putting this one down
Yeah.
until I realized, you know what? That effort to put someone else's needs before my own, that was
Mm.
my service. And I can be
Mm.
mad at myself for performing my duty, or I could embrace the fact that I'm such a soul that I would perform that duty regardless of what the outcome was. And whatever situation my mom had going on, that's her karma. That's her pathway to deal with,
Yeah.
not mine. I don't have to take that on too, which I was for years, right? I was taking on her karma and my karma. And that was
Yeah.
the like legacy of our relationship, right? Until I finally got clear. Look, all I can focus on is my service and my duty, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it's painful, even when it's tripping up into all of these other areas of concern. So ultimately, I would say if you're able to shift your energy, like what Jessica's talking about, and come from a place
Mm.
of love and of loving kindness and service, even if it hurts, that energy will accumulate. And that momentum will then make it easier and easier and easier for you to do the hard things. And then you're clearing more and more karma exponentially. And now I'm going to stop talking because I totally want to hear from Raquel and everybody else.
I know. I was like, okay, Raquel.
It's so interesting. The masters are speaking, and I'm learning so much. I am mesmerized by everything, And until our last conversation, I hadn't thought about burning karma, not even thought about it, but it makes so much sense. And from the conversation we've been having, what is coming to my mind is that we all always grew up with the simplistic or very naive idea of karma. Like if you're not a good person, you have to do good. If you don't do good, you go to hell, or you don't go to heaven. Or if you're not a good girl, you're not going to get, Santa Claus is not going to bring you presents. But we grow up with these ideas that behind it, that is this karma idea. And then when Emma is talking about the hypnotherapy and other practices that I had the pleasure to go through, it makes you understand karma from such a different perspective. You go to the root of the cause and you understand, and then you shift from being a victim to owning your karma, understanding and working through it, because your perspective is so different. So you don't have that reactive behavior, but what can I do now to and I love the idea of Coco Cali. Like it's amazing, like when you shift your mindset, so you get out of that I don't have it, but I'm gonna help it. So I'm gonna burn my karma by helping the others. So I really liked those ideas. And I think whatever we can feel and treat and heal from the inside. So now I am in releasing balloons, right? So with that feeling, there are rituals and there are things that we can do that can make us feel better, and that we are doing something. And it's very interesting when you don't know to knowing, because when you know, so now whatever you do, oh my, now I know, and I'm still doing the bad. So why am I doing that? And just to close, it's just a general ideas that came up to my mind. And that's when I really like the Hooponopono, because the Hooponopono, you can go deep into those little things and really heal from inside and really reflect and really being grateful for what is happening to you. So I think understanding and going to the cause of the karma, going to the root, brings humility, brings understanding, and brings healing. And so that's my thoughts. Those are my thoughts.
Could you share a little bit about Ho'oponopono for us, for those who are like, I have no idea, what is that?
Ho'oponopono is maybe Coco Kale, I think she knows much better to explain, but it's a Hawaiian practice. And I have my Japamala, so it's 108 repetitions that you thank, you say what you're sorry for, you are thankful, you are grateful. I usually do in my language, so I don't remember the sequence. But it was created by this doctor, and he had to heal this people in this psychiatric place, but it was a very dangerous place that he could not even go there. And he did the Ho'oponopono from distance, and he started healing these people. But I think Coco Kelly can talk more about it.
Yeah, I mean, it goes back even further, actually, with the tribal wars in the Polynesian Islands, and that there was, if you can think about eons, like centuries of hatred going back and forth. And so there was this idea of how can we facilitate healing amongst these tribes who, for no reason other than they have the wrong name, are hating on each other. And so the process was, for them to come and say, like, look, maybe it was my ancestors who harmed your ancestors. But I'm coming here now saying if I contributed to the perpetuation of that hurt in any way, I genuinely, from my soul, want to say I'm sorry. Like, there's no reason now today for you to continue to be experiencing this pain.
And can we talk about? Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Then it became modernized, and I feel so sad that I don't have her name has many syllables, so I'm not able to say it quickly off my mind. But she realized, well, if we can do this amongst tribes, maybe we can create a process where I can do this just within myself, by myself. What if I don't have access to the other person to do this process? And what she gave us is what we now is the modern Hooponopono. I'm sorry, please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. And then you, in your meditation, in your recitation, you can do many variations of that as you take it deeper and deeper. What were you going to say, Jessica?
Well, it's just so powerful because you came and did that for my fireside. So I know all of you don't know about this, but like I have a fireside that's off of Spiritual Pathfinders. So after they learn all of the foundations and start their intuition and all of this, we have like guest speakers come in, and Coco Kali was one of them, and she brought in Hooponopono. So you could imagine at this point, some of these people have been in this program for a year, and they get introduced to Hooponopono, and she explains it and runs everyone through the practice. And there were people in tears. Like, even though they had gone through all this work, because it never ends, right? That was the end of the conversation. It's like, welcome to another layer. But it's so powerful, and you make it sound so simple. And yes, the act is simple, the concept is simple, but to stop and do it, the power behind that is so intense. There was an emotional reaction from everybody in the fireside to where they were like, can she come back? Where's her contact info? Because some of the people were so stuck, and based off of their own journey, and that's how it is for all of us, right? In your karmic journey, if you're getting a consultation and you notice it's a repeat pattern, if you're trying to identify the karma and going through therapy and things like that, and there's all these different channels and pathways that are right for you at that time. And that's what happened. And I was amazed at the levity of the reaction from the group having that brought in. And so I just want to say, like, it sounds light, but it's just so powerful, and you can enter it with that lightness, and you come out like, whoa.
Over time. It can be, I just want to call out, the question that Wendy asked about but what about me? What if I'm, abusing myself, right? And I'm taking care of everyone else, and I'm not able, for whatever reason, I have a block when it comes to taking care of myself. Well, you can put Hooponopono on that. You can, instead of apologizing to an external source, you can apologize to yourself. If you believe in the divine or have some sort of spiritual relationship, you could also include that, like, I apologize to the universe. I apologize to the divine for not being in my full effulgent light, right? Like, that I didn't think enough of myself to love me like you love me. Like, I'm sorry, I'm sorry that I woke up today, and instead of being grateful for breath, I was angry that I had to go make breakfast for my invalid father, or for my ungrateful sister, or whatever thoughts are coming up. Like, there's so many layers of things that we can get into. I mean, just my own example with my mom and the winter coat, right? Like, I can be like, I'm sorry. It might start out like, I'm sorry I could not afford to give you the coat of your dreams. Right? Like, it could be, look, we live in a material world. Where we begin with it could be so surface, right? I'm sorry I couldn't just give you a pile of money, and rescue myself from this experience of hardship that I had when I gave you that coat. I'm laughing because I'm sure you guys all have experienced the like non-apology apology, right? Your
Giving and
Ho'oponopono,
receiving.
right?
Mhm.
Good times.
Your
Yeah.
Ho'oponopono may start out that way. And so I just want to say that's okay. That's all part of it too,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
And then getting to that place, that genuine place of like, I'm sorry that you were hurting somewhere that was showing up in this wanting of this a new coat. And that instead of offering you compassion with whatever showed up, I offered you anger. And I'm actually
Mm.
truly sorry that I responded that way. I still don't know. It's a mystery, whatever was going on with my mom, right? She's passed on. So I can't have a conversation with her to heal that. But I can ho'oponopono and be genuine from my side to say, look, I could have responded differently. I could have let go of this sooner. I held on to that anger and frustration with you for so many years. Instead of loving you, I sent you weapons with my mind, hating on you because of how that situation was handled. And I'm really sorry that I handled it that way. And whatever plane of existence you now inhabit, would you please forgive me? Would you please release me from that pain and suffering that I have carried around for so long? And then I can also say to myself, Coco Kali, please forgive me. Forgive me. Let me forgive myself for being human. Let me now offer myself compassion as a human being, knowing that was part of my growing pains. And let me be free to see my acts of service with love instead of criticizing myself for my acts of service, for beating myself up for my acts of service. And then shifting into that space of gratitude that I have this tool to be able to move through these deep emotions, to be able to heal with myself, with others that are here, that are not here, with others who are willing to heal with me, with others who are not willing to heal with me, that this is available to me for my growth, for my karmic purification, for my achieving unconditional loving kindness of the self. Let me be grateful. And let me remind myself that I was born of love and that I can love myself every day of my life, regardless of any missteps that I take.
I love you so hard.
Yeah, it's
Ditto.
very beautiful. Yeah, Ho'oponopono. Yeah, it's very beautiful. It many times it brings tears to the eyes because we go so deep inside. And doing the Ho'oponopono the first thing in the morning, I do for myself. So and then for the feelings and things that I want to ask forgiveness and things that I want to be grateful for, it's very beautiful because it's a moment that you are with yourself and you have those repetitions, and it's really really helpful. Thank you, Coco Kali. Loved it.
Thank you. Thank you for reminding us of it. It's wonderful.
So great. I think that there's so many opportunities for us, even if we don't even realize what we're doing, releasing this karma, burning the karma.
Yeah.
And also, even in the positive, like that's what the manifestation is all about. And the programming in our brains is all about is moving now that that's healed, creating the next pattern that you want, and then being able to manifest that outcome that you're seeking. And I know that that's one of the things that I didn't even realize, to some of your guys' points, like, oh, I was doing that. I didn't realize I was manifesting. And people would say like, I'm dating myself, but back in the 90s, especially, like vision boards and dream boards, whatever you wanted to call it, right? And then they finally said, well, no, you really need to do this. These things will come true. Well, they did. And I made the board. And a year later, with it less than a year later, but throughout the year, all these little things started happening. And at the end of the year, my life had completely imploded and a new life had born. And I didn't even think about it because in part of this was a massive move. And I unpacked it, and my vision board was like bougie. All right. Because I mean, come on, look at my background. That's how I roll. So I had this vision board that was like literally a board framed it's giant. It's bigger than a poster. And that was like this centerpiece I saw every day in my home. And then I exploded, packed it up. And in my new home, when I unpacked it, I was like looking at it and thought, dear God, I did it. Everything on here is on here. And it's amazing when you sit and think. And then when you do practices like Ho'oponopono or a board or whatever you're doing, you are creating patterns because the eyes, especially if you're visual, feed your brain, right? All of our sensory feeds our brain. And when you're looking at this from a karmic perspective, I just want to say it's not always just about burning it and removing it. That's the part we focus on because we want to be rid of our anxieties, our burdens, our pains, right? We want to be happy. That's innate in our nature. And it's just like community, right? So I would suggest, and maybe next week we talk about that abundance piece and like, okay, this is karma. Now we're having the conversation about some options. There's a lot of them. And then taking it to the next level of like abundance. And I say that because even like I know I shared before, I got a consult from Raquel, and that was involving karma, right? And I was like, okay, I need a consult right now because I need to know how to manifest the abundant outcome of this, right? And same with in other rituals and practices. So I just think that that's like the next stage of it that so many of you are gifted at doing, and just digging into those patterns and that karmic energy and being able to create abundance and your desires out of it in the most abundant, magnificent way. I just made that word up. I liked it though.
I like that word. That's our new word.
Totally approved.
Yeah, and manifestation is my passion, and I have my vision board here, and it's incredible when you go through. I see mine every day, or we see ours every day, and when you see like things coming through, and I think that's after working on all these this root problems and understanding. I think the manifestation, we are co-creators, and that we get in tune with the energetic level. We change our mindset. I think mindset is very important, and that we lead from scarcity to abundance, and that we come to a realization that we have power if we want to, and we have just to elevate our energy and our frequency to attract what we want.
Word. I love
I heard
it.
Love it.
said that, yeah. Oh, thank you.
Okay, so
Yeah.
yeah, so that's great. It was a wonderful conversation. I've learned so much, and hopefully you at home, you really liked this, and you can ask us questions and give topics, suggestions, how we can continue, or other conversations you would like to have, and share with us what your practice, what is your burning karma practice that you can come and share with us.
Lovely. Thank you so much, everyone.
Yay.